Hi guys, it's Misty from the Book Rat, and today I am going to be taking a look at a recent read, The Queen Underneath by Stacey Filak? I'm not entirely sure. Sorry, Stacey. The full synopsis as well as links to the book will be in the description, so you can find all of that there, but essentially it is a sort of Sleeping Beauty retelling where there is a king above and a queen below, and the sort of underground below, underneath area is where all of the assassins and thieves and harlots live, and then, you know, you have the above and they're supposed to be the upright people and blah blah blah. You get it. The synopsis is down there. I'm gonna get straight into my thoughts. Actually, not straight into. Apologies for the lighting in this video. I know it's really weird. It's raining outside, so it's super gloomy, and I have literally taken my lampshade off of my desk lamp and have a bare bulb on me just so that we have some light. So I know it's weird. I know it. Okay, so my thoughts on The Queen Underneath. Again, this is like a running theme of things that I've been reading lately. I ended up being really on the fence with this one. So it is very different, and I feel like I have a lot of things to say and just need to kind of discuss them and like spill them out because it's kind of a lot to unpack. So if you've seen anything about this book, you may have seen some buzz about the fact that there's a male MC and a female MC, and there is not a romance between them. And I know that some people were really excited about that. It's a rarity, especially in YA. And it's true. There's really not. I thought at first maybe there was going to be, but there's like not a bit of it. And that's just one of the ways that this book really kind of takes a departure from what is out there. The biggest way is it is very bold. It is the choices that are made, the things that happen, and I don't mean from the characters, I mean the choices that Stacey makes as a writer are bold choices. There are times that it does not at all feel like YA, especially in the romance and the sexuality of the book. I could easily see some teen's mom picking this up and flipping through it and then storming her child's library or school and demanding it be pulled from shelves. It's that level of bold. There is a lot of confident and happy sexuality in the book. There are openly gay characters and not a ton of shame about it. There is a distinction to be made between the above ground and the below ground and how they approach things, so that kind of is dealt with, but the overall tone of it kind of sidesteps a lot of that and just presents it, this is who they are, this is how things are, and it just is what it is. And it's another romance that gets just as much attention as the straight romance in the book, so I think a lot of people will like that. Both romances go there. Before, when I've reviewed romances, especially on the blog, which doesn't happen very oftenly, but I've employed what I call the cock test. So basically the idea is, when I say that word, if you're like, then it's maybe the book for you. And if you're like, oh god, I hate that word, or you're like looking over the shoulder for your mom, probably not the book for you. I've never had to employ that test in a YA. It's not normally something you see in YA, and this, like, she's a fan, man. They say it a lot. That's just really scratching the surface. So the only curse word, I mean, not the only curse word, but of the kind of main ones that a lot of people say, they are all pretty freely said in this. The only one that's not is fuck, and that's because they use prick instead, so like prick and prick you, and prickling, which irritates me because like you don't say jumpling, so why are you saying prickling? But whatever, that's just but I mean, that's another way that it really just feels a little no holds barred. I mean, some of them curse like sailors, some of them are literal sailors, so that could be part of it. Again, it's not something that you really see a ton of freely in YA. There are certainly pockets of YA where you would, things that tend to be described as gritty. For the most part, you know, things get a little bit safer when you're writing for kids, and I think this one kind of goes beyond even what a lot of adult books would do. I'm so hesitant to give spoilers, especially because there was kind of like a shock value to one of the moments that I really want to talk about. Oh gosh, I don't know. I want to say it so bad. Basically, this is what I'm going to say, and if anyone wants to know the details on it, maybe I'll be willing to discuss it on Twitter or something, but I don't want to spoil it in the review. So, I think that it's good. I really appreciate it, actually, that she was willing to kind of go there and be authentic, I think, to who these characters would be in the world that is set up. So I appreciate that. I appreciate that she doesn't tiptoe around the sexuality. At the same time, though, I think sometimes it was a little bit forced into the story. This one, I will say, there was one point where, like, the world is falling apart around them. Like, things are going down, people have been murdered, people are seriously injured, like, death's door injured, and there have been betrayals, they're distrustful of each other, and despite all of that, literally as they're walking down the middle of the road in the above, one of the characters just starts stripping off her clothes and is like wanting to go for it right there in like the middle of the street. And yes, there's like a Sleeping Beauty element, so some of the population is asleep and there's a good chance they won't be seen, but it still is so bizarre, just the timing of it. Not just the setting of it, which was strange enough, but the timing of it with everything that's going on was a little weird. Like, I had to actually stop and reread it, like, is this really what's happening right now?
Oh, hey, Future Misty here. It goes further than just the timing of what's going on in the world around them, also the timing for the characters. One of the characters, the one who initiates it, has just had major internal issues happen. I can't imagine that anything they're going to do is going to be pleasant. So, it's just a little bizarre, that's all I'm saying.
Kind of crazy. Sometimes the boldness is really good, sometimes I think it suffers a little bit from the boldness and would have benefited from more reserve on occasion, I guess. Which kind of leads me to my overall biggest thing about it, which is that it felt a little erratic. So there is a lot of back and forth, there's a lot of flip-flopping, there's a lot of like hurry up to wait, you know, like these crazy things will be going on and they have this urgency to do this thing or get to this place, and then it will come to a grinding halt and they'll just be like sitting around for like literally a week at one point. And I'm just thinking, like, what's been happening in this whole week? Like, everything's still urgent. Where did the urgency go? It sometimes made the story feel really disjointed and piecemeal, like these really cool scenes that she wanted to write, but then how do you connect them? It can't just be a series of cool scene after cool scene with like weird lulls in between. You have to make it make sense, have a progression, and I felt like it was kind of missing that a little bit. Not a little bit, it was missing that. And I think partly it's because there are too many ideas crammed into this one story. There's too much going on. It's not very thick. I think it really, really would have benefited from being a full series and having that time to devote to developing and building tension, building anticipation, getting to know these characters and letting them get to know each other. So, and letting the reader get to know them so that when there are betrayals, you are shocked by them and you feel betrayed. And when there are budding romances, you've grown to love them together along with them. It really would have, as a series, it would have made it potentially really stellar, but all crammed into one and very quickly. I feel like it kind of lessened the impact of things and made the characters and the sort of plot in the world feel erratic and maybe sometimes confusing. I think some readers might feel a little bit like they can't get their footing in the world because it's like coming at you from all sides, but it doesn't feel like it's on a solid enough foundation. I don't know, it's hard to describe, I guess, but I think if it had been slowed down and split up, it could have been really, really standout. It would have allowed me to sort of believe in the characters more and buy their motivations and get to know them and the world a little bit better and just have it be more rooted. This is sort of compounded by the fact that the characters themselves seem to be a little bit erratic emotionally. They flip-flop too, so it's not just the action of the story that keeps pushing forward and holding back, but the characters, like one of them in particular, uses the word rage a lot in his narration, like he feels overcome with rage, and then it just is gone in the next minute, and it makes him feel very little out there, maybe? You know, that's not really normal unless you've got something like, does he have a chemical imbalance? What's going on here? And that's not the case. It's just like the tension and the anxiety of the moment and maybe partly who he is, but having it be a continuous theme that just builds up, dies off, builds up, dies off. It, instead of like that the natural peaks and valleys of a story, you start to burn out on it, and it feels weird and it feels rootless, and you just don't buy it as much as you would, I think, if it was developed a little more and pulled back a little bit more. On a similar note, I felt like I couldn't get a handle on the world, like the layout of the world. I didn't get it. Partly it might have been not enough time spent describing the kind of connection between the two places and the setups of them, but I just, like, physically, I could not form a mental picture of what was around them, what was going on, you know, where they were traveling through. And every time I thought that I did, something would be described a little bit more, and I'd be like, that is not at all what I was thinking. And again, I think it's just this sort of rushing to get to the next crazy thing and not spending the time on the development and really rooting things down. So it's kind of a consistent thread, I think, and the biggest sort of flaw for me is just the need to, like, step back and really buckle down into the base, the foundation of what makes everything else that goes above it work. That said, I tore through it, and I ended up being really curious to see where the author's going to go from here as a writer, because I see so much potential, and I think it's always better to have too many ideas than not enough, because you can rein it in. You can kind of be taught to parcel things out more judiciously and to edit down. It's a lot harder to add in and to not have the ideas. So, you know, it intrigues me. She intrigues me. I think the world and her bold approach makes her very, you know, interesting to watch, and with development and with growth, if she gets better with time, then could be really, really something. And that will also owe to the editing too. I mean, it's not all on the author. You do have to have a good team around you that's going to help you see those flaws that you can't see because you're too into the story and you know all the answers in your head because you've been living with it for years. So you need someone that can kind of push you, and hopefully that will happen, and I'll see that growth and some potentially really amazing stories from Stacey. But I mean, I guess I won't know until those happen. But despite any of those flaws, and some of them were pretty big ones, it still had enough there that was making me curious and would push me to seek out more from Stacey and kind of see where she grows, and even more from this world if it was to, you know, continue, if there were to be more like spin-offs or you know, further stories set in the world. I would be curious to see where they go and if we can get some more of that development. I find the characters she created really interesting and would like more from them, and sort of more internal, how they deal with things and who they are. She's given a lot. She's given us a lot as readers to work with, and though that can mean you feel let down when it's not worked with, it also is there. So there is the potential to really expand and blossom, I think. I really so badly still, even though I'm done reviewing that section of the book, I still so badly want to talk to you about a couple of scenes early in the book. Oh my god, it's gonna eat at me. I think here's what I'm gonna do. Oh god, that's not gonna work either because then people are gonna discuss it. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna end the review here, and if you want to hear the rest of my discussion with the kind of spoilers, there's gonna be a little gap in this video, and then the rest of it will be at the end, so you can kind of hear what I want to talk about, and a further example of the boldness of her storytelling and the choices that these characters make, but also how it sometimes backfires. I'm going to talk about that at the very end. So if you don't want to have kind of the moment spoiled, if you're going to read this, or if you don't want to hear, if you failed that test and you don't want to hear about those things, you can tune out now, and thank you guys for watching. You're awesome. For the rest of you that want to hear it, I need to talk about these things. So, leave the room if you're not ready for this. Here we go. When I started reading this, I was literally like sitting kind of in shock, like grinning, like, is this really happening? I couldn't believe some of it. So there's a point very early on, the female lead, she's the underneath sort of thief queen. She's very bold, She's very fearless, and that's very refreshing. And she's also grown up in a world where these things are normal, so she doesn't have the kind of social mores that the above people do. So there's a point where she takes the king, who's kind of on the run, to a whorehouse and is telling him whatever needs to be told. And so to kind of cover for it so that no one suspects anything, as she's talking to him, she's also making like sex noises and bouncing on a bed, which is cheesy. It's been done. It was kind of amusing, you know, it was fine, it was whatever. But then it was like, Stacey can't just leave it at that. She has to up the ante. And literally, they hear someone coming, and like, quick as she can, she strips off her clothes, tells the guys to, and they're both like, they've been watching her bounce on a bed for a while, so it's, you can infer from there the state that they're in. So they're all naked. I still can't believe this happened in a YA book. Oh my god, I don't know if I should even talk about this. Oh lord, I don't want to spoil it. It's so ridiculous. I shouldn't spoil it. I really shouldn't spoil it. Basically, the fact that they were naked and on top of each other wasn't enough for her. She needed to make it look realistic. And it involved some, like, mechanics that I was just gobsmacked was in a YA book. I could not believe it, and that it was just like nothing. It just happened. It was like, this is where we're going, and then move on. I'm not gonna spoil it. I'm not gonna do it because I really don't want to take that moment from people if you guys read it. And I feel like I've built it up for you. I also feel like it's kind of a little bit wrong of me to give away something that Stacey has put in this story that was clearly for effect. So I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it. I'm sorry. God, I want to so bad. Fuck it. After pretending, bouncing on a bed, making sex noises, pretending that she's a prostitute so that anyone walking outside the door won't suspect anything, when they hear that someone's coming, how they have time to do all this, I don't know. They strip off their clothes as quick as they can. Gemma gets her naked ass up off the bed, looks the king in the eye, leans in and whispers in his ear that it needs to be wet, and then bends over and spits on him and tells him to rub it in so that it looks legit. This is happening in a YA book, you guys. What the hell? Could not believe it. And that is in the beginning. That is like, how many pages in? This is about 40 pages in. So that's only the beginning. And as I said, some of the time seems really bold in a good way. Sometimes it just seems like, what? Really? And then it seems forced upon the story. And like it's distracting from the meat of the story. Why did I use the word meat there? Can you see why I wanted to just like talk about this book? Like I so want to get a group of people together and just discuss it so bad. There are positives, there are negatives, it's bold, sometimes it's too bold. Those are my final thoughts. That's all I have to say for now about The Queen Underneath, but if anyone wants to continue talking about it with me, if you have questions, if you read it, I would so love to know your thoughts. Get a hold of me in the comments or on Twitter, like, let's talk this out, because I have thoughts. But anyway, sorry if that robbed the moment for you. There are more surprises in store if you pick it up and read it, but that is all that I have to say about The Queen Underneath. So this one is, God, I don't remember what day I have this scheduled to go up. Either this is coming out tomorrow or it just came out yesterday. I don't remember how I have my May calendar set up yet, so just, you know, it's in this time frame. You'll be able to pick it up soon, I think. I'm pretty sure. But that is all for now. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Thank you guys for watching. If you watched all the way to the end, don't spoil it in the comments, but like, tell me your thoughts. But until next time, thank you guys for watching, and happy reading.